What's up, guys? We're here and I'm back for episode 5.
And you came back at the right time.
Because this episode
was great.
It delivered.
It delivered, indeed. It is technically another setup episode, but I still call it as like the initial spark of the conflict here. What do you got? You got the Ickless Familia finally showing their hand of how evil they are. They do shy away from actually showing some things, but I think overall they delivered on that scene, and I think they showed enough of it that really does merit to the story. I don't know. It could be like directly, but I don't know if it went a tad bit farther in the book, but could be misremembering there. Maybe it's my own imagination. I don't know.
Yeah, I think anyway they did a pretty good job of showing the brutalness of them, and we also got an important conversation. Actually, we were talking kind of throughout the episode, which was a good thing because obviously we know the source material, so it's not like too much new, but we were just talking about like how important this episode is and like the development of Bell and seeing that on screen. So you have his conversation with Eyes, which starts there. I don't want to spoil too much for anime onlys, but starts a divide or at least a conversation that you've seen in the opening.
All right.
And then so that was very interesting. And then you had also the perspective of the Xenos, where they're like freaking out and like attacking, trying to find the people who did this.
Right.
But you were able to see like the brutality of them, so you kind of understand where they're coming from.
And I also do like how you do see the level-headedness of the Xenos too, with like Leto and some of the other ones that are in charge, with them being like, no, we still shouldn't retaliate. What about Bell and everything? Like, you can't put them in danger. But, obviously they're going to differ. And Gross doesn't really necessarily have like a bad reaction because, like you said, it's kind of justified. Unfortunately, Ween does get captured this episode, so that's not looking good for the Harahime Bell child there. But you do get also, I guess, more of a touch on the scenario that Bell is okay with, killing the monsters again that aren't Xenos, obviously. But you do see the nice setup of Uranus and Fells make kind of not necessarily forcing Bell's hand, but putting him in a situation to test him if he is going to be the person that they think he is, or if he's just going to be like another puppet. Which I really do. Yeah, which I really do love that because like Michael's mentioned probably before, but also like more recently when we were watching the episodes, like Bell this season goes from being just like the stereotypical like anime protagonist to like an actual hero. So it's nice to see that coming to life in this season. I was trying to think. We really the other thing we get is the Xenos approaching Rivera, which is going to set up some really cool things later on. I think we were talking. Okay, so like book 9's technically 4 episodes. This is the 5th episode, so we're starting book 10 material. So looking forward, the rest of the season is probably going to be 4 episodes per book. But I guess it just really depends on how much they showcase those fight scenes, because there is a lot of fight scenes supposed to happen this season.
Yeah, we'll definitely see that, and there's going to be a good thing that the author has done recently, and it's really apparent in books, I think like 13 and 14 as well, is setting up different scenarios or perspectives for the events that are happening simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get that in the next couple episodes with the fight scenes. We're going to get introduced to a character we haven't seen in a while, so that's going to be exciting, especially for anime onlys. And I don't think we've seen the design of the character, so it'll be interesting to see how they show them. Now that I think about it, as they destroy some of our favorites, and we get some other action scenes that are pretty excited as well. I do find it funny that I saw a lot of reception, because I was just really curious, like what some people's reaction was going to be to the way certain characters react to situations, or just like some things that unfold. And I was surprised to see a lot of people being like, whoa, this show got like really too dark or like whatever, or like darker than I thought it would be. And I mean, that's like cool to see that people are surprised. I hope it's like good reception though, because I don't want it to like hurt the show's ratings or whatever, but I just think it's really cool because I mean, I think it hits harder with the show being, because it kind of sets you up for it being one way, but then it hits you with like the cold hard reality of what the world is, especially with
this situation in particular with like, you know, the gods always scheming against each other, how like adventurers can be just as bad of monsters as people or, you know, beings in the dungeons. So I don't know, just the way they're able, or like the author was able to showcase that through the novel. I thought it was such an integral and important point of not only like this arc, but the story going forward, and just kind of, you know, how Belle's going to stand out from the rest because of that. And I think it was nice to see them still keep that a part of the series DNA in the show this episode.
Yeah, and I think there would be major problems because they obviously it talks about in the backstory of like how crazy the city was beforehand with the evils and all that. So if, you know, the world was just perfect now and everyone was good and the only threat was the dungeon, then I don't think it would be Danmachi. It's important that like the humans, there's going to be conflict between humans, and there's going to be humans that are awful, which we've seen in this season with probably the best villain so far as human villains go.
I think the coolest thing about the season going forward is just, you know, seeing a bunch of the factions that we've been introduced with finally, I don't want to say like finally coming out of the shadows, but just, you know, taking an active role in the arc and like the things that are happening. I mean, you definitely do have a lot more players in this arc than ever before, at least, you know, from what you've seen in the show. I mean, you know, obviously in the show right now, it's not totally revealed what Hermes Familia and, you know, maybe Loki's going to be doing. But I do love how we even see, you know, a Familia like Ganesha coming in and going to have an active role in next episode, which next episode is titled...
Gnosis?
Yeah. Thank you, because I was like, how do we pronounce that again? I don't remember. Gnosis sounds right. But it's the Man-Made Dungeon, which is a really cool indicator for book readers. We could probably talk a little bit without spoiling too much, but... really looking forward to that because we will see more of Dix and his Familia, and probably the first big fight of the season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, certainly, yeah. I don't know how they're going to... Again, it's kind of how they break it up because there's like 3 or 4 fights that happen simultaneously, but or in a certain order, so we'll see how things go. But
yeah, but super stoked going forward. I don't know. There wasn't really anything that caught my eye as bad. I am curious, though, how they're going to work in... or if they'll work in them at all, is some of the beats of some of the skip content we got for Sierra and the orphanage stuff, which, you know, for book readers, that'll probably mean more
building
to
collapse.
You. Yeah.
I'll say building collapse.
But that's one that I'm, like, curious if they're going to have that element at all. Because I feel like even though that element's not necessarily important, I'm kind of glad we, like, if one thing was going to get cut, that got cut instead of the stuff we got in this episode. But... I do think that was still sort of a way to bring the world or like the people's reaction home. So I'm curious what they're going to do with that, or if they're going to somehow try to shoe it in there. But overall, I still think like the presentation of this episode has been good.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about this because it's not super key in the episode. Talking about Ai's philosophy when it comes to monsters and things like that, but. As we've seen previously, people can be evil and then people can have misconceptions, whereas, you know, Ween saved that kid's life and people were still mad at her because she's a monster.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the nuanced perspective on both humans and monsters is something that Belle will learn to understand. It'll be exciting to see that and that conflict, major conflict here in the near future. So
that is one thing, even though we did get a lot of cut content from Book 8, I am glad that they kept... at least a couple episodes to focus on that little side problem that Belle and Ai's centered around Hestia from the last season, because I thought it was, like in the books, it was a great way to have like a book where it's kind of standing by itself, hearken or like, you know, be the kind of the little tease or glimpse into the arc coming. And so I think having that still in the show, that moment in this episode harkens back to the end of the last season, which is a really nice touch. And if you remember, I know it's like, that's a moment like you blink and you miss it. Not blink and you miss it, but you know what I mean. It's such a small part of the season. Like if it's been a while, you probably don't remember it a lot, but I think that would be a great one to go back and rewatch and maybe listen to a little bit more of her dialogue, because that's going to be playing a huge role in the episodes to come for this season.
So yeah, so with that being said, we have a new book that came out, and we will be reviewing here shortly as soon as I finish reading it.
Yeah, for once I'm not behind. It's him this time. Blame him.
And then November is the month of Danmachi, so we're going to have more Danmachi episode by episodes, and then we'll probably, maybe, depending on how long the book is, have it out by the end of November.
Yeah, so
for volume 15.
We're definitely going to have a lot of content there, to tease both you guys, the fans, of future content coming up, and teasing Michael. There is a lot of stuff to unpack in the newest book, so there's plenty of like new speculation, discussion type stuff we can go off of that because of that information. So, hopefully we'll be able to bridge the gap a lot after those 2 books even drop.
We definitely appreciate your comments and questions and speculations, as long as they're not spoilers.
Yeah, just put that spoiler warning in there, please.
Please do. But anyway, so that has been this episode. It was exceptional. I think it really brought the dark tone that we didn't see as much in season 2 that we had in the books that covered season 2. So I'm excited to see what they do in the future.
A lot more ballsy, and I'm glad that they're finally taking up on what the series has to offer.
Yeah, studios probably got enough money, so they're just like, we can actually
give the people what they want.
Exactly.
Now.
All right.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see that going forward as well. But anyway, guys, we'll let you go. We'll see you next week for the Man-Made Dungeon episode. Until then, guys, peace.
Later.